sounded like a bar pickup line, and I was like, what is going on here?
Roman Rite Catholic Mass. We got it.
Is God sparks? What will God spark in you?
We got it.
I thought you were gonna say the intro. Damian, why are we here? Why? Who are you?
So my name is Damian, and we met like what 2
2
years
years
ago?
ago?
Yeah, at the young adult group in St. John, Kansas. And we are here today to basically talk about faith, about our Catholic life and what we struggle with, what we going through, about our conversion histories, and how we actually get to this point.
So how'd you get to this point?
Oh, so what's my story? I mean, okay, that's all started in 1988.
Okay, but we gotta go like spark notes.
Okay, perfect. I understand. So I moved to Chicago. I'm from Poland, and I moved to Chicago 2014. So almost 9 years ago. And that's kind of like where my journey started in the USA. So I was struggling with the faith in USA actually, because there was not a lot of good examples of like real faith. Even going to the churches, I visited many different churches, but the faith was very flat, plain. There was like nothing. The people just didn't. I didn't feel the real faith even in the churches. So I was always missing something.
Had you felt that before in Poland? Or like that was something that you were missing in the US? Or just like length of time, you didn't find that example, and then what you were taught just was falling away?
I mean, so going back to Poland, there's a very strong faith. I would say like this elderly people, which have like very strong. There is a root faith in Poland, which is very strong. And then you have those young people who like kind of getting like more the Western culture, and they like kind of like going away of the church. But also, I would say I was in the middle, where I was going to the pilgrimages and I was doing a lot of stuff around the church, but I was not leaving my faith, which I had my struggles, and basically that it was not allowing me to be fully in the Catholic Church. I could say with the communion with the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
So there was inside struggle that was always like, okay, I'm Catholic, but I don't live like Catholic, and there was always like something inside me that was like, there was a fight
Yeah.
that with good and evil, that basically like just something was wrong. I didn't feel myself, and I kind of bring it here to the USA, and it was like kind of okay. I don't have any examples of the faith, so you kind of like going my spiritual life was going like down, I would say. And so like how I get here, I basically 2.5 years ago I found the St. John Kenches. So that was one of the best things in my life, and I personally think that saved my soul. And that's where I met the Emily, and I joined the young adult groups, Peter and Paul group. And I'm very glad because I found the very core pure Catholic faith, where everything is done with the specific procedures. The masses, we also have the Latin mass, extraordinary form of the mass. So that was, I think that's the probably the biggest treasure we have, and
The mass.
the traditional mass, because I think that's so pure. There's so much tradition. It's around 1800 years of development, like slow, very small changes throughout the years to make it better and better, to basically prize God in better way. So I really love it. I really enjoy it. And around 1.5, 2 years ago, I had like the general confession, and I changed like a lot of things in my life. So since then, I decided like I'm all in, and there's I cannot go back to my previous life. That's my main goal. So that's where I am now, and it's going well. I have some struggles. There's always temptation and all of that, but I think my spiritual life in last 2 years grew basically more than for my entire life.
Mm-hmm. A number of the things that you said um, made me think of different things, like that you had a faith, but you weren't living your faith. So you were neither hot nor cold.
Mm-hmm.
So I will spit you out. Like, that's what I
Yeah.
thought of in my head. But instead of spitting you out, God called you, He led you on a different path. But once you encountered Him, just like the Magi who go visit Jesus at his after He's born, um, they could not leave the same way they returned. Just as you could not leave, you know, go down the same path that you had been living. You had to go a different path after really encountering Him.
Yes, that's true. And basically, yeah, I was struggling too in USA, that basically, I didn't have a lot of friends in terms of like, I didn't have a same language with like most people here. Like, I don't have really friends at work because it's just different culture. Like, we speak completely different language, and my conversation with my friends from the church are like, more meaningful, and it's not about something that I really care about. It's a faith. Like, that's by the end of the day, it's all I really care about. But so I didn't have it for years, and now, and I was struggling with like, hey, why I'm here in USA? Like, what I'm doing here? Like, why I'm here? Like, why did you send me here? I want to come here and all of that, like
Did you
explore
feel
and like,
sent?
I had this. After my college, and like, I tried different things in Poland, like, not a lot of things, not everything was working out. And I just felt like, I have a chance to go to the America. I had a green card, and I was like, let's live my American dream, and let's try it out. So I think that thought was, I guess it was from Holy Spirit. So then, being here, I was still like confused, like, wait, what I supposed to do? But then I realized, like, the only thing I supposed to do is to follow God. And it doesn't matter where I am, what I do, with who I hang out, as long as I keep myself, accountable to the Ten Commandments. Like, I avoid sin, all occasions to the sin, and if I just follow the Jesus, that's basically everything I need to do in my life. And then, just, with time, you get enough courage to be the witness, and really live your faith in even in public spaces. So that's probably where I am now, and I have some good friends who are a good example of it. So I feel like, hey, I want to be like this. So I'm in good community, and I want to stay here, and I just want to keep going day by day, and just get better. So what is your? Can you tell me about you?
So why am I here? I'm here because of God's grace and infinite love. And He keeps reminding me to remember that above all, I am His beloved daughter. Because a lot of times I don't remember that, and I don't act in accordance with that and that inheritance. So as a baby, I was baptized Catholic, but I didn't grow up in the faith at all. I didn't know anything. I didn't like the only thing I knew, like I knew stuff from like TV, like Noah's Ark.
But so
Um,
your family were not Catholics? Like, what was
they
the?
were Catholic in like name and baptism, so that their soul had the indelible mark, but we didn't go to church, and I didn't know anything about God. Um, so after college, a couple years, I experienced a lot of pain in my life in multiple areas. Um, and those multiple areas, I needed the pain, and I only respond to suffering. If I didn't have the pain, the multiple areas of pain, I don't think I would have been in that vulnerable, broken down place to just walk into church one day. So, to give a little backstory to this, when I first moved to Chicago, the apartment that I found before I was Catholic, um, was across the street from a Catholic church, and next door to me, and who I paid my rent to, were the nuns that are so like it's I don't know. I didn't really believe in God. I didn't know if God existed. But I was like, oh, that's nice, because you think it's like, oh, that's good. Jesus has good morals or what, like, and you just kind of downgrade it. But I was like, oh, that's nice protection. So I was always passing a Catholic church. And then I was an actor, and I was cast about a year before I started going to church on Fox's TV show The Exorcist as a nun. And my main lines were the Our Father, the Hail Mary, the Hail Holy Queen, and the Litany of Loretto. And what's funny is I didn't know the prayers. I didn't know the Our Father, and I had to memorize them because it was my job to memorize them. And I 100% would not have done it if it wasn't my job. So God meets us where we are. So I go into church that first day. And I've never been to a mass. Like I have maybe like 5 times, but like as an adult, I don't think I had. So I didn't know what was going on. People were standing, people were sitting, people were kneeling. It was a totally fish out of water scenario. But as I'm in the mass, tears are just streaming down my face. And it's not because of like the specific pains in my life that brought me there. But really, I feel like that was just God's grace, like opening my heart, like clearing things out, trying to really make me face some of what was going on. And I somehow committed to just keep going to church every Sunday. And eventually I got involved in the young adult group, which was very funny because that was also God. Because I didn't know, I would always see the young adults talking after mass, but I was very closed off and afraid. I didn't know how to approach them, and it would make me feel really bad because I'd be in mass and these tears would be streaming down my face and I don't really know what's going on. And then I would see all these people that looked like they had friends and life and like love, and I didn't know how to approach anybody because it seemed very insular and cliquish, and I was an outsider and I was alone. So I go to mass, and I'd maybe been going to mass maybe a month at this point, and that was pretty much the last mass I was going to go to. I wasn't going to go again after this one because it was, I didn't really understand it, and I felt disconnected, and I wasn't going to go. But I happened to sit next to a guy who was young, like my age, and after the mass, he's like, hey, do you come here often? And it really sounded like a bar pickup line. And I was like, what is going on here? And he was like, no. He was like, I'm in charge of the young adult group. He's like, you should like do stuff or something. And while his approach may not have been as smooth as it could be, for me to receive it, that was God giving him an inspiration that he said yes to and followed to keep me going to church. Because without him saying that, I would have stopped going. That would have been the last time. So then I keep going to church slowly. Holy days of obligation are optional. But I start learning a little bit more and more as time goes on. So it's about 2 years. And then the COVID shutdown happens. And I was proud of like going to Ash Wednesday, like the year before. And, like I'd been building up. But then everything shuts down and it's over. And at the beginning of COVID, I was very, very afraid because I have asthma, and I'd gotten sick like a month before the shutdown, like very sick. And I was pretty much like, if I get sick again and it hits my lungs, I was like, that's going to be over. So I stayed hard inside, isolated, without going out at all for about 2 months. Which was very unhealthy, but was also God's grace because God, I would be watching the mass online, on my laptop, sitting in bed, like locked into my room. And even though I didn't understand a lot of things in the mass, like, I wasn't going to confession, I wasn't receiving communion. I didn't even know what the belief was about communion. Like, I don't even think I knew that some people believed that it was Jesus. So I definitely did not believe that. Like, I just didn't know. but I could feel that something was deeply missing. There was something deep. I really felt the loss of that, and not going outside, not seeing people, not interacting with people. I finally hit this turning point of, I would rather go outside and die having lived than stay inside and survive. And God needed me to hit that point from like a secular level of like, that wasn't going to be me living for him. That was just going to be me realizing, wow, I would rather live a good life that is shorter than live longer. And what have I done? And God was like, that's what I needed to hear, because that's what we're supposed to do for him, to be the witness, to be the martyr, to say, I'd rather live for something than survive for something that is going to pass away. So it was during that summer that I did find St. John Cantius, and God put me on a speed train because then I signed up for RCIA because my schedule was open. I was absolutely free to sign up for something like that because everything else was canceled and closed. So I signed up for RCIA, and God all of a sudden was like, this is very, very important. And he put me on this speed train of not only diving deeper into the faith and learning a lot of the stuff that I'd never learned, but also calling me to learn the Latin Mass, to discern religious life, to discern marriage, which I'm not in that relationship anymore, and then discern again a new like vocational calling in life, in terms of how God wants to use me and what I am to bring that to the world. Because I was listening to the Poco a Poco podcast this morning, and they were talking about how as you climb the mountain to ascend towards Jesus, because you only find Jesus on the top of the mountain, like the Transfiguration, like that's where you commune with Jesus alone. As you start climbing up that path, you see on the side of the road the things that the travelers before you, the saints, had to let go at different points in their life. And for me, God has continually been culling my life. But at the same time, things like acting, being that creative, that was something that I never thought I was going to do again, particularly when I was discerning religious life. I thought that was just going to be something closed in a box, that was my passion since forever. But at this point in my journey on the mountain, God's like, you're still holding too many bags, but you dropped this one back there. And that's my passion for acting, for bringing my voice, because God wasn't saying you need to get rid of that. He's saying, I want you to use that, but now use it for me. So like there's still too many bags for me to enter that narrow gate right now. But he's saying, but this is a backpack you need to keep on, because you'll still be narrow with the backpack, but some of these extras, we gotta...
So, Emily, that's a beautiful story. And it seems to me like the God always have his ways to bring us back.
Mm-hmm.
So I do really like it.
For me, it's only suffering. So I don't know if that's for you. I don't know. I wish it wasn't. I wish I was a little, I don't know. I guess I'm stiff-necked, like the people from like the exit. Like, I don't know. I only respond when I'm like really beaten down. God's like, look, we're going to put you in the olive press. We're going to get rid of these skins because that's too much. We just want the oil. And like, why can't I cooperate to just be like, you're right. Let me just like get rid of the skin. It's like, no, we need to press it out of you. I don't know.
But when you look at the life of the most saints, that's suffering.
Yeah.
So I think that's the Catholic way. If you really want to be devoted Catholic, you have to be ready for suffering.
I just mean, but I do not that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just my desire to avoid suffering. But to me, it's like, but if I could just do it's like, good cop, bad cop. It's like, if I could just deal with the good cop and just easily give up something, why do I always need to be like the?
That's how it works. That's what makes you a better person.
Yeah.
It has to be a hard way. Sorry about that.
You don't sound very contrite.
But that's what it is. But in the same way, we kind of joyful about it. So
Yeah.
because we know
Well,
why.
not in the moment.
Not in the
I
moment,
don't
but
suffer well. Not yet. That's a virtue.
we know that's for good. That something is happening. Everything, if it's happening good or bad, always God allows it to bring us closer to Him. But it's up to us if we say yes or no. Because there are a lot of people suffer and there's a lot of stories, but does everyone get closer to God like you? No.
Yeah.
So it is our yes. By the end of the day, we have to decide it if we do say yes or no.
That's true. I was actually listening to a great talk yesterday about a priest. He was giving it, and how like when all the scandal comes out about like, oh, did you hear that they did this thing, and it's all over the news, and then they're so embarrassed. And he was talking about why does God allow something like that? And that's a mercy, because they're so stuck in their sin that God's like the only way that you'll realize, that you'll come to terms, that maybe you'll say yes and turn to me in your weakness so I can be your strength, is to expose some of this celebrity's weaknesses, because we have those same weaknesses, they're just not plastered over the news, right? But we also are not as prominent as they are, but we're the same ultimately. Maybe the sins are, maybe the colors are a little different, maybe the shape, your size, the flair. I have a scarf, they have sunglasses. I don't know. But like that's like, it is what it is. And we're the same, but God is like, this is how I need to bring this person back. But like for me, the suffering didn't need to be public for me to still acknowledge my weakness, to turn to Him.
Thank you for watching.
I guess it's over.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Subscribe. Ooh, subscribe. I don't know where the button is.
Hit the
I'm not
like
that
button.
good.
You know the drill.
Yeah.
And we see you next week.
We're cool. Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.